So next we've got up here coming is Anwan Simmons, and he's going to talk about a very important topic, that of lending privilege. Here you go, sir.
Thank you, Scott. You know, diversity in tech is a hot topic, but most of us wonder, how can I make a difference? Well, this talk is going to show you that everyone has privilege and can lend it to marginalized groups in tech. And this is important because, frankly, we've all been misled. As Cindy said, diversity in tech is almost always presented as a numbers game. As a people of color, LGBT people, and women just need better percentages. Well, this is a false flag because diversity in tech is not a numbers game. It's about empathy and how we value people. And that's why I think that inclusion and empathy are better terms than diversity. Marginalized groups don't need better numbers. We just need a chance. But this isn't some hippie dream of diversity and a dream of being diverse. Innovative teams are inclusive teams. Many studies have shown that when we have innovation, we have inclusion. But marginalization is on the march. I'm not sure about you, but your current portfolio of privileges may not protect you now, unless, of course, you're already rich. Now, what is privilege? Privilege is access to benefits based on traits that you possess. Those could be parental, those could be gendered, those could be racial, and a whole host of other traits that you possess. And there are two major categories of privilege. There's birth privilege, which are traits that you're born with. And then what's weird is that even though we don't choose our parents, we don't choose our race or our gender, these traits are often the root of most bias. The second category are selective privilege. And those are things like where you go to school and your religion, your gender identity, that change as you grow. Now, these two sets of privileges, both birth and selected, are your portfolio of privilege, and you can lend it to marginalized groups. And here's how. I want to illustrate this through three women. We'll call them B, L, and M, who are probably similar to women that you work with today. So let's start with the first lending type, and that's credibility lending. Credibility lending is lending visibility to people who lack privilege. You know, often LGBT people feel restricted in tech because of the heteronormative nature of the industry. By lending them privilege through credibility, you can help them. Here's an example. A few months ago, DeRay visited the Colbert Show, and Colbert switched seats with DeRay in an illustration of credibility lending, and that raised DeRay's profile. He even ran for mayor. Well, how can this work in your company? So let's say you know B, and she developed that killer feature in your last release. Why don't you lend her credibility by co-presenting that feature at the next board meeting and raising her profile in your company? Now, the next type of credibility lending is access lending. Access lending is providing entry to people without privilege. You know, often women feel that they don't have gender privilege, and therefore they begin to doubt themselves, which despite the value that women bring to tech companies, they feel like, well, I can contribute. Well, Tracy Child recently told of how when she was at Stanford, one of her TAs said one of her professors said you should be a TA for a CS class. This access let her see that I'm just as good as all the male students, despite what they say. So let's say that you know Elle, and Elle just spent the last month implementing your container strategy. Well, why don't you let her go to that Docker conference that always begs you to speak, and you don't even do Docker, let her go, and let her see that her place in tech exists as well. Expertise lending is giving a voice to people who lack privilege. Often people of color, we feel that we don't have a voice in technology because we lack racial privilege. Well, expertise lending can help solve that. Our first lady was in Austin a few months ago, and she gave a keynote where she said, look around the table, if you have a voice at that table, and see, are there other voices that don't sound like yours? That is expertise lending, and you can do it like this. Let's look at M. M is one of your top developers, and she actually will be a great lead for your next project. Why not give her a chance to lead? Let her lend her voice to your company, and let her be a part of your company. Now, in a little less than 5 minutes, I've described lending privilege. And it doesn't take much more than 5 minutes for you to do the same. Now, let tech companies play the diversity numbers game. But if we want real change, if we want people of color, LGBT people, and women to really get into tech, stay, and get promoted, then you can make a difference by lending your privilege. Thank you.
All right, so this is the midpoint. Is your microphone hot, sir?
Yes.